What would you do if a sudden windfall of hundreds of thousands of dollars landed in your lap? For most, it's a dream come true. But for one couple, a massive casino win became the catalyst for a shocking crime that raises unsettling questions about trust, greed, and how well we truly know those we love. In early 2022, 27-year-old Alana Merriweather, an operations manager at an Amazon distribution center in San Francisco, lived with her husband, 30-year-old Kian Merriweather, who worked as a warehouse forklift operator. They lived in a rented apartment in a small, multi-building complex on the city's south side. Friends later described their marriage as troubled. The couple worked long hours, frequently on different shifts, and constant credit card debt was a source of repeated fights. In late March 2022, Amazon organized a management summit in Las Vegas, which required several department heads, including Alana, to be present. She told coworkers the short trip would be a welcome break from the ongoing stress at home. She left San Francisco on March 18, flew with other team members, and checked into a mid-tier casino hotel the company used for such events. Internal records confirm she was present at all scheduled workshops and meetings for the first 2 days. On the evening of March 19, while waiting for coworkers before a planned group dinner, Alana sat at a free slot machine near one of the hotel's main walkways. Casino records indicate she put in $20 and played for about 6 minutes. The machine then hit a rare winning combination, triggering a jackpot payout of $344,000 before taxes. Staff accompanied her to complete the necessary identification paperwork, and the casino began the electronic transfer to her personal bank account. Her colleagues later said she seemed shocked and hesitant to talk about her win, avoiding lengthy discussions about it for the rest of the trip. Alana returned to San Francisco on March 20. Bank records confirmed the casino money arrived in her account the next morning. Kian, according to Alana's later statements to police, congratulated her but soon became fixated on deciding how the money should be spent. Neighbors reported seeing Kian outside the apartment around 10 p.m. on the night she returned. Before we go further, let us know in the comments where you're joining us from. We always appreciate hearing from our global audience. And if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss any of our future content. Now, back to the story. One neighbor told police he saw Kian pacing near the parking lot, speaking in an anxious, rushed tone about changes coming and getting things straight. No confrontation was reported that night, but in the following days, both friends and Alana's coworkers said she described the situation at home as becoming increasingly tense. She allegedly told 2 coworkers that Kian insisted the money was joint property, while she felt he was trying to control decisions about paying off debts and savings. She described his behavior as more and more unpredictable, saying he often raised his voice and questioned her comings and goings. According to her later police interview, conversations about the money grew more heated on March 25, with Kian becoming angry over her hesitation to move some of the funds into a shared account. While no witnesses reported hearing a physical fight, messages from Alana's phone show she texted a friend at 7:42 p.m., saying Kian was getting aggressive again about the money and that she felt trapped by his demands. This situation touches on a minor but common insecurity many couples face, the tension that arises when one partner controls the finances. Have you ever felt a pang of anxiety when a large, unexpected bill arrives, or when your financial future feels like it's in someone else's hands? On March 27, at approximately 8:16 p.m., San Francisco Emergency Dispatch received a call from Alana. In the recording, she states that she shot her husband in self-defense after he assaulted her inside their bedroom. Patrol officers arrived within minutes. The incident report states that officers found Kian Merriweather on the bedroom floor near a dresser, with a single gunshot wound to the chest. Paramedics declared him dead soon after arriving. Alana was standing near the foot of the bed with her hands raised and immediately identified herself as the caller. Officers noted that she repeated variations of the phrase, "He came at me and I fired." A handgun was found on the carpet about 1 meter from Kian's body. The weapon was later confirmed to be legally registered to him. Initial observations by officers and crime scene technicians noted little disturbance in the room. The bedding was mostly untouched, and there were no broken items or signs of moved furniture. Officers did not see any visible injuries on Alana that would suggest a recent physical struggle. Kian's forearms had minor scrapes, though investigators on scene could not determine if they were new or related to his job at the warehouse. Alana was handcuffed, taken to the police station, and held for an initial interview until homicide detectives arrived. Detectives Jarrell Tate and Simone Langston were assigned as the lead investigators. They secured the apartment, started a standard evidence chain, and ordered a full forensic analysis of the gun, the surrounding area, and both individuals' clothing. The forensic examination of the Merriweather apartment on March 27, 2022, revealed few signs of a violent struggle. Crime scene documentation showed the bedroom was orderly, with no items knocked over except for the position of the handgun found on the carpet. The firearm, a registered semi-automatic pistol owned by Kian Merriweather, was photographed, tested for fingerprints, and collected. Technicians noted the lack of overturned furniture, torn clothing, or marks indicating a forceful impact on nearby surfaces. Detectives Jarrell Tate and Simone Langston began their main interview with Alana at the precinct shortly after 10 p.m. She seemed calm but reiterated her earlier statement that she fired because she feared for her life. She told investigators that the argument with Kian had intensified after days of ongoing pressure about the casino money. According to her account, Kian trapped her near the bedroom closet during a dispute over transferring the funds. She claimed he threatened to take what belonged to both of them, which caused her to run to the dresser, grab his handgun from a drawer, and shoot when he moved toward her. She described her action as a reflexive instinct. Detective Tate pressed for more details. He asked why there were no marks on her body consistent with being grabbed or shoved. He questioned why Kian's fingerprints were missing from the gun's slide and grip, according to preliminary forensic results. He also pointed out that none of the neighbors in the building reported hearing shouting or signs of a fight that evening. Alana maintained that the confrontation happened too fast for her to get hurt. While the detectives were reviewing their interview notes, the precinct received an anonymous call from a prepaid cell phone. The caller claimed that Alana had planned the shooting for financial reasons and intended to keep the entire casino payout by getting rid of her husband. According to dispatch logs, the caller declined to give a name and hung up abruptly. Detective Langston forwarded the information to the on-call digital forensics team, instructing them to begin a deeper review of Alana's communications and online activity. Forensic analysts obtained warrants for Alana's phone records and messaging history. The initial search found no direct evidence of planned violence, but it did uncover communication patterns that didn't match her claims of feeling isolated. Her work Slack logs contained a series of personal messages with a coworker, 29-year-old Donovan Rhee, a shift coordinator at the same distribution facility. The messages, preserved in internal backups, included talks about her marriage, her frustrations with Kian, and several long late-night conversations that took place weeks before the Las Vegas trip. Detective Tate instructed the administrative desk to contact Donovan for voluntary questioning. Given the potential importance of his communication history, the request was presented as a routine follow-up on workplace interactions, not an accusation. Records show Donovan returned the call and agreed to come in that evening. He arrived at the precinct shortly after 9:30 p.m. Detectives noted he seemed nervous and avoided eye contact during the intake process. He stated he came straight from work and didn't understand why he was being questioned. Tate and Langston kept him separate from Alana and prepared to examine his relationship with her, the nature of their conversations, and his potential link to the anonymous call. When Donovan was brought into the interview room, he immediately asked if Alana had mentioned him. His overall attitude, noted in the supplemental report, suggested unease rather than assurance. Detectives Jarrell Tate and Simone Langston conducted separate interviews with Donovan Rhee and Alana Merriweather on the night of March 27, 2022. The choice to interview them apart was based on inconsistencies already apparent from the digital review done earlier that day. Donovan was interviewed first and stated that he and Alana were merely close coworkers, denying any romantic relationship. He admitted they communicated often but claimed their work schedules frequently required late-night coordination. When Tate showed him excerpts of restored Slack messages that revealed long non-work conversations and multiple references to her marital problems, Donovan changed his story. He conceded that the relationship had crossed professional boundaries, though he insisted it had ended before her trip to Las Vegas. Digital analysts continued recovering deleted material from both phones. Several message threads erased shortly after the Vegas trip were partially restored. The fragments showed discussions between Donovan and Alana about Kian's reaction to the casino win and Alana's prediction that he would demand half. Another fragment included Donovan stating, "There are ways to come out clean if he snaps first." When questioned, Donovan claimed this was a hypothetical remark made during a conversation where Alana voiced fear about the escalating arguments. Detectives noted his unease when the message was read back to him, but recorded that he maintained it was not a suggestion to commit violence. The investigators then brought up the anonymous call made earlier that evening. Donovan denied any involvement, saying he had no reason to call the police anonymously. However, cell tower data placed his phone within about 500 meters of the prepaid device at the exact time of the call. Confronted with this evidence, he admitted making the call but described it as a reaction to Alana's self-defense claim. He said he thought the situation seemed suspicious and wanted to prompt officers to investigate more thoroughly. He stated that Alana had previously told him Kian wouldn't let her leave and that she had options if the marriage fell apart further. He denied having prior knowledge of any plan to hurt Kian. In the other interview room, Alana repeated that she had acted out of fear. She acknowledged that Donovan knew about her marital stress but denied any romantic involvement or talks about harming Kian. She said Donovan had misunderstood her comments about feeling trapped and added that she never intended to use the winnings as a reason to separate from her husband by force. She insisted the shooting happened only because Kian charged at her in a rage. Financial records introduced another inconsistency. Investigators found that Alana had moved a portion of the casino winnings into a separate account 2 days before the shooting. She did not mention this transfer in her interview. When asked about her financial decisions over the previous week, she described only making regular bill payments. Detectives flagged this omission and noted that the transaction happened during a period of reported conflict between the couple. As the interviews continued, Tate and Langston observed a pattern where both individuals deflected blame. Donovan attributed concerning statements to Alana's emotional stress. Alana described Donovan as overreacting or misinterpreting her. Neither of them provided explanations that matched the physical evidence or the recovered message fragments. Tate noted in his report that both of their stories shifted when they were challenged with data pointing to potential coordination or parallel efforts to avoid responsibility. What happens when a self-defense claim begins to unravel under the weight of digital evidence? As the investigation deepened, a trail of deleted messages and financial moves painted a far more sinister picture. During the week following the March 27, 2022 shooting, detectives Jarrell Tate and Simone Langston executed a series of search warrants for digital devices, cloud storage, financial accounts, and workplace communication systems linked to Alana Merriweather and Donovan Rhee. The warrants were approved based on the inconsistencies in their interviews and the early evidence of prior discussions about the marital conflict and the casino winnings. A check of Alana's personal email uncovered a message sent on March 22, just 2 days after returning from Las Vegas. She had contacted an estate attorney in Oakland, asking how gambling winnings were handled in divorce cases and if a spouse could be legally blocked from accessing funds categorized as individual prize money. The attorney replied with general information, noting that distribution would depend on state marital property laws. The email did not mention any fears about domestic violence or an imminent plan to separate. In another email thread recovered from Alana's cloud backup, investigators found a link forwarded by Donovan on March 24. The link led to an article analyzing self-defense claims, specifically how outcomes could be more favorable if an individual had documented previous domestic disputes or threats. The message included a brief note from Donovan that read, "This is examples of cases being reduced." While the email didn't mention Kian directly, the timing coincided with the increasing tension Alana had described in her interviews. This reveals a more profound insecurity, the fear that your private digital life, your emails, your messages, your searches, can be pieced together to tell a story you never intended. It makes you wonder, what would your own digital footprint reveal under scrutiny? Analysts examining Alana's phone discovered a note created on March 26, the day before the shooting. The note listed several potential uses for the casino money, including paying off debts, moving out of state, and what she described as a fresh start without Ken. Investigators noted that the wording indicated forward planning, not preparation for a defensive scenario. A further review of workplace benefits records showed that Alana had increased the employer-sponsored life insurance policy on Kian 3 months earlier, raising the coverage to its maximum amount and naming herself the sole beneficiary. She later explained this as a routine decision made during an annual benefits review but could not provide any documentation proving the change was standard for other employees or required by company policy. Donovan was brought in for a second interview on April 3. In this session, he admitted that he and Alana had talked about leaving the Bay Area together if she could cleanly extricate herself from the marriage. He said the idea wasn't connected to violence, but to her desire to escape what he called a deteriorating relationship. When asked about communication on the afternoon of the shooting, he stated that Alana had called him around 3 p.m. and sounded calm. According to Donovan, she told him she was done being scared and that things would be settled soon. He said he interpreted this as her intention to confront Kian verbally or start a conversation about separation. He denied knowing she had access to the gun and denied discussing any form of physical confrontation. Cell site data and workplace security logs confirmed Donovan was at his job in Daly City at the time of the shooting, placing him far from the Merriweather apartment. This ruled out his physical involvement but did not eliminate the possibility of his participation in prior planning or encouragement. Detectives noted in their report that his statements showed partial admissions of his influence over Alana's thinking while carefully avoiding any acknowledgement of direct coordination. With these findings, Tate and Langston drafted a detailed supplemental report summarizing the digital evidence, the financial patterns, the insurance policy changes, and the discrepancies in both parties' statements. The report outlined a working theory that the shooting may have been staged to look like a self-defense incident, with the confrontation initiated by Alana under the belief it could justify using lethal force. The investigators highlighted the timing of the financial inquiries, the deletion of messages, the discussion of legal outcomes, and the note indicating an intention to start a new life without Kian. On April 8, 2022, Prosecutor Celeste Harmon of the San Francisco District Attorney's Office convened a charging conference with detectives Jarrell Tate and Simone Langston, along with senior prosecutors and case analysts. The meeting focused on the evidence gathered during the prior week, the email inquiries about divorce and gambling proceeds, the phone note referencing a new start without Ken, the life insurance adjustment, the deleted message fragments between Alana and Donovan's admissions about their discussions concerning her marriage. The working theory presented was that Alana Merriweather, with encouragement and input from Donovan Rhee, had structured circumstances that could later be presented as a defensive response to Kian's aggression. Harmon concluded that probable cause existed to support charges of conspiracy to commit murder against both individuals. She added a special circumstance of financial gain for Alana due to the timing and nature of the casino winnings, and a firearm enhancement tied to her use of Kian's handgun. Arrest warrants were drafted and signed later that afternoon. When detectives served the new warrant on Alana, her demeanor shifted noticeably from her earlier cooperative posture. She asked to speak with an attorney immediately and refused to answer any more questions. She was transferred to county custody pending her arraignment. Investigators documented her reaction and her refusal to participate in further interviews. Donovan, arrested shortly afterward, initially maintained that his role had been minimal and that he had never anticipated a violent outcome. However, after a night in county lockup and being informed of the potential charges, he agreed through his lawyer to participate in a proffer session. The meeting was recorded according to standard procedure. During the proffer, Donovan stated that Alana had spoken about getting free from Kian several months before the Las Vegas trip. According to him, the casino win made it real by giving her the financial means to leave or take actions that would have otherwise been impossible. Donovan said that Alana introduced the idea that if Kian lost it on her, she could justify using the household gun to defend herself. He further stated that they reviewed old text arguments between Alana and Kian to establish a record showing Kian's volatility, even though many of those arguments were about finances, not physical threats. Donovan also told prosecutors that Alana speculated about which neighbors might later confirm hearing disputes between them and whether those statements could support a self-defense claim if a confrontation happened. He reported that these conversations increased after her return from Las Vegas and became more direct in the days leading up to the shooting. He admitted to sending her the link to the article about self-defense cases and acknowledged making the anonymous call to police after the shooting to divert attention away from himself. In exchange for his cooperation and a plea to a reduced charge of conspiracy without personal use of a firearm, Harmon offered a capped sentence within the single-digit year range. Donovan signed the agreement. His account directly conflicted with Alana's insistence that any mention of violence had been misinterpreted and that Donovan had exaggerated or misunderstood her remarks. Prosecutors noted that his statements were supported by the recovered message fragments and the timing of her financial and legal inquiries. The trial of Alana Merriweather and Donovan Ree began in late 2022 in San Francisco County Superior Court. Prosecutors structured their case around digital records, documented financial actions, and the sequence of communications leading up to the March 27 shooting. With no eyewitnesses present inside the bedroom at the time of the gunshot, the state relied on reconstructed timelines from electronic sources rather than direct observational testimony. The prosecution began by presenting casino surveillance footage from March 19, showing Alana at the slot machine where the $344,000 payout was generated. Financial statements confirmed the funds were transferred only to her account. Jurors were shown email exchanges in which she requested legal information about gambling proceeds and how those funds might be treated in a divorce. The state highlighted the timing of the inquiry.